Geno Smith, a Raider? What? Josh Allen being the highest paid quarterback now? I was like, Brock Purdy trying to join him possibly? Myles Garrett out here being like, I might not be a winner on this field, but I'm a winner at the bank. I was like, the Pittsburg Steelers finally getting a number one receiver. The Rams trying to go all in. And I was like, the Seattle Seahawks trying to rebuild. I was like, all this and a whole bunch of stuff going on in the NFL. Now, go ahead and get out the way the easier notes. I was like, Josh Allen be now is like the highest paid, the highest paid quarterback, breaking all of his numbers and stuff like that. And why not? Everybody loves Josh Allen. I was like, why not give him all the money in the world? I was like, we're changing rules for him. I was like, hey, he faces this league. I was like, hey, I was like, back up it all, the Brinks truck to go along with them Super Bowls. Anyway, Brock Purdy. It seems like they're trying to figure out where he is. And I was like, once again, it gets brought up about where his position is in the league or whatever. Because I was like, it is an interesting debate, I really feel like. But I was like, at the same time, I really feel like Brock Purdy, to me, is basically not too dissimilar than Tua. I think that's sort of where he really needs to sort of get paid. I was like, it does this stupid market thing where it's like, you're the next man up, therefore you get this amount of money. I think it's really stupid. I mean, go ahead and get your money of that, and that's how it's designed. I was like, that's the part I don't have a problem with. I just think it's dumb that it's just like, as soon as it's your turn, that it doesn't matter how good you are, you're going to get this amount. And if that's what it is, then that's what it is. I was like, but at some point, I was like, when one of these franchises is going to be like, I'm just not doing it. Either I'm going to trade you or I'm going to just let you go. Go ahead, see what you go get out here. Because I was like, to me, I was like, with some of the quarterbacks, I'm like, the team got the leverage. You think you that hot shit? You go ahead and go out and we'll see what you get. If you go ahead and get your money, I'm not going to knock it, sir. Go ahead. Goodbye. And bounce with that. But anyway, sticking with the quarterbacks, Geno Smith ended up going to the Raiders. I did not really see this coming or whatever like that. I was like, threw me off. But at the same time, I was like, the Raiders needed a quarterback. They seemed like they were wanting a veteran type of quarterback. I was like, I don't think this necessarily takes them out of getting a younger quarterback. But with Pete Carroll being as old as he is and Tom Brady being there, I think they just really don't want to be sorry. I think they want to at least be competent. Geno will give you confidence. Geno is somebody that's going to take over. No, maybe if you had a perfect roster, sure. But I was like, he at least have you at least be somebody like, at least a little bit like you don't stink. Yeah, I was like, you're a little reputable in the league. I was like, you have a chance to actually win with Geno than without it. I was like, I know people in Seattle might feel differently, but I think he does at least bring your floor up really high to at least being like, can we get, depending on what they put around him, can we get to the playoffs? And I think with Geno, yes, I think you can, even though I understand he didn't get there necessarily with Seattle. But still, I was like, that's how you sort of want to do, especially in the division. But like I said, I was like, I wouldn't doubt they draft a quarterback later on in the next set of round. I'm pretty sure they're going to probably use one of their top picks to probably build out this roster even more. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if they really grabbed a Gentry from Boise State. That I'm like, at least in my head, that's where I was going to go. There's not a receiver necessarily that they could grab or whatever, unless they want to just build out the roster. But they got their D line's pretty. I was like, pretty good with Crosby and Wilkins and stuff. And I was like, their offensive line, they drafted Young there for a couple years as well too. So I was like, I think running back is probably where they'll probably go, depending on how the draft slides in and out or whatever. Myles Garrett, I was like, it looked like there was going to be a standstill, and I was like, to be honest, I think Myles Garrett really won here. I was like, yeah, of course he won because he got the money. But I'm saying I was like, because I think that he was going to really, like, this is what I'm saying. Whether or not he was actually going to sit out games, which I sort of think that, I think he would have, like, gotten close to it. But I was like, I feel like he'd been so much of a professional that he would have ended up caving in. But I think that the compromise is, like, we're not going to trade you. And it's like, I want to leave. We're not going to trade you. I want to leave. And then they just slid him a piece of paper, and it's like, what about this? And he looked at it, and he's like, ooh. Well, I was like, hey, we all can't get what we want, but hey, we can get some things that we like. And he went ahead and liked the money. So I was like, he ain't gonna go anywhere. By the time this deal done, then I was like, that'd probably be the time that he actually bounces and leaves. I was like, the Pittsburg Steelers, I was like, went ahead and got DK Metcalf. Now, whether DK Metcalf getting $30 million a year, I'm not really on board with that, because I think he's like the fifth, sixth highest paid receiver. And I was like, I don't necessarily believe that. I was like, because, Jamar Chase and Higgins haven't gotten their money yet. But, hey, whatever it is, it's the market. He'll be their number one receiver. And to me, this is able to knock down George Pickens to number 2. I think that's actually better, because I was like, while his potential was like that, I was like, listen, also, I think this sort of helped Pittsburgh of being like, hey, now we ain't got to pay you, Pickens. We ain't got to do none of that stuff. We can ship you out like Deontay Johnson. We'll ship you out like Antonio Brown. And I was like, now I will say that the Steelers do have to work, because they haven't really produced wide receivers. They haven't really produced wide receivers since Brown, Wallace, and I forgot the other one, because there was like 3 of them around that same time. With Le'Veon Bell and stuff, but they've done good with receivers, but they haven't developed any receivers. You get what I'm saying? Claypool didn't really pan out. Like, while they was sort of bounced, I was like Pickens, Deontay Johnson. But I was like, I will say that you don't have to worry about DK Metcalf being your number one receiver. I was like, he's solid there. I was like, we can nitpick on like where he ranks in amongst receivers, but I was like, if you got him as your receiver, I was like, you're good. It doesn't matter necessarily who the quarterback is going to be, what they need to sort of figure out. I feel like they might go. They just signed DK, so I was like, they might not go the Sam Darnold route. They might go cheaper, because I was like, you get Fields a lot cheaper than that. I was like, or they might just try to stick it out with Russell Wilson. Now that it look like the Raiders in his spot, you might be able to get him cheaper. You got Metcalf there. I was like, he had a good rapport with everybody. Even I was like the players and stuff like that. I think that might be probably where they go as well. Talking about the Rams, they picked up Davante Adams. They're going to get rid of Cooper Kupp. But they got 2 receivers solid there. But I was like, you basically upgraded at that spot. I was like, to me, and with getting Stafford back, and I was like, your defense is young. You're going to have all your picks. This really sort of just seems like they're about to push all their eggs in the basket of like, since Stafford's here, we're going to basically go all in. It's sort of what you've seen with the Warriors and stuff like that, where they're like, hey, while we got our star player, we're going to maximize their timing. That's what they seem like they're going to do with Matthew Stafford and getting Davante Adams. I was like, and also, to be honest, I was like, I think this worked out, because if they was over here being like rumored to necessarily get Aaron Rodgers, I was like, well, getting his favorite wide receiver is going to work over there in that system. And I mean, like, it's a system that Davante Adams will be good in anyway. They're all sort of really similar or whatever, and he still showed that he could still play at a high level. I was like, and you got Puka, but I was like, that now also, when you had Puka and you had Cooper, you had 2 receivers that's going to get hurt. Davante, knock on wood, hasn't been in that position where he gets hurt in that type of way, to where you got to be like, oh, got another injury problem. No, he sticks around. I was like, and he still plays at a high level. And playing with Matthew Stafford after playing with Rodgers, I feel like he'll be able to figure it out really quickly being on that squad. And the Seattle Seahawks, I was like, it's questions of what are they going to do? Are they going to give Sam Howell a chance to sort of like rebirth his career, or give him one last shot to see if he can start in this league? Do they just roll with that? Because they're going to be in the middle of the draft, so it's like, at that point, unless something like Sanders slipping or whatever, in which then I guess you got to question a lot of things if he's slipping at that point. I was like, are you going to take a quarterback? I was like, that Jackson Dart guy, are you going to like get him that high? I was like, they always sort of like boost up the quarterbacks even more. Or I was like, but you also, got rid of 2 receivers. Like, overnight, you done got rid of like 3, like about like half of your like firepower with your quarterback, 2 receivers. So it's just in Jigba over there in Fant. And They got the running backs who always be hurt. So do they just roll with Hal? It is sort of like everything else is really young on this team, but this team has always been so close. So it's like I understood why they sort of also got rid of Geno, other than the contract as well. It's just that when you're sort of like, if you're just sort of always in the little like the median, the middle part, it's like, okay, well, we might as well just go ahead and start over if we already at that bait. It's like Sam Howell can't do. I mean, I know how it wasn't Washington, but I was like, I don't think he's Jameis Winston with the turnover. I think that might have just been that system in that 1 year more so. I was like, I think he could play better than that. But they might just figure like, hey, we could get nearly the same production with Howell that we did with Geno. That cool, we can survive until next year when there's a better crop. Because it's like, hey, if they're bad, they got a top pick to get a quarterback. If they're pretty good, then it might be because of Hal, and you might be willing to give him like a Baker Mayfield type of look over there. Because I was like, that's to me how I sort of see like Hal could be, is sort of like Baker Mayfield-esque. So why not pretty much go with that? I was like, as free agency about to kick off, I was like, it's going to be interesting to see. I was like, to see who, I was like, basically the quarterbacks sort of go. The wide receivers I was like, will be interesting, but I think that's just they're going to probably be something later on. And I was like, I think a lot of defensive players going to really move just because I was like, they're not expensive as offensive players in that type of way. The Vikings brought back Aaron Jones. I thought that was a really good move for them, no matter who their quarterback was actually going to be. I was like, I'd seen something with it. I was like, it's going to be interesting to see where Aaron Rodgers goes. I was like, I don't think he's going to be on the market really that long. I was like, I guess if you want to say like 3 days or something like that, I don't think he's going to be on the market that long. I think he's going to find a spot real quickly. It's going to be some of them other quarterbacks. I was like, I think Fields is going to be waiting for a minute. I was like, Darnold, I think his is going to get figured out pretty quickly as well too. But yeah, I was like, out of all, I was like, the moves, I was like I said, I think defensive players are going to be the ones that are going to be on the move here. I was like, oh, the Texans, they also traded for Christian Kirk, and I was like, that's good. That's a good pickup because I was like, I think he will give you what you were going to get out of Diggs and Tank Dell. I was like, which both of them is not going to be ready to go pretty much by pretty much a whole year. I was like, Dell should probably be out, and Diggs, even though he might be on a different team or whatever, he ain't going to be there really that much either. But anyway, my thoughts on the news or whatever. Getting back into the flow. We're going to see how free agency goes. Rhymed. Peace out.